Okay, well, we're on. It is about 10:30. I might be a little tiny bit late or a tiny bit early because all my clocks are different, so.
Gives you a choice.
Yeah, so do I pick which one? But, so we're here for Gentle. It's April 14th, and we're here for Gentle. If you're at home and you want to sit in a chair, we are going to use a strap today. So make sure you have a strap handy or whatever you use at home for a strap, you know, whether it's a belt or take your time and settle in. So let yourself get comfortably seated. If you're in your chair, just make sure your feet are hips distance apart and parallel. And close your eyes and start to lengthen up through the top of your head, feeling that sense of your head feeling very light up there on top of your spine. If you need to wiggle around a little bit to adjust yourself in, by all means do. And just allow the shoulders to release down away from your ears. And accept your breaths now in and out through your nose, feeling the breath coming in and going out through the nose. Feeling that sense of allowing the breath to come into your belly. So you feel your belly rise and expand a little bit. Without forcing the breath, if you are comfortable to come towards those three-part breaths, inhaling into the belly and then into your ribs and then up into your chest so that you feel those three-part breaths. And same thing when you exhale, if you can think about the breath coming out of your chest first and then your ribs and then your belly. Now easily start to move the body a little bit with the breath. So letting yourself circle your torso. And you can start and stay really small with the circles so that you just barely come into circling, keep going the same direction, and just let your exhales bring you forward and your inhales bring you up. Or you can let the circles get bigger and bigger if you choose to. You can let those circles become bigger as you start to ease your way into moving with your breath. And we are going to change directions. So you stop where you want and then go in the other direction. So you just let yourself unwind. And then finish off so that you come back right up at center, sitting up nice and tall here, letting your arms release on out beside you. And let's inhale here into the length of the spine. And on the exhale, twist to your right, bringing your left hand around, maybe to your right knee, maybe to the midline of the body. It depends on how you feel. Just try to find that twist in the middle of the back. If you need to kind of, when you inhale, come out of your twist a little bit, do. So that you can get a full breath in, and then when you exhale, maybe you can decide you want to look a little farther back behind yourself. So one more inhale. And on the exhale, come on back around through center. We're going to go all the way into the other direction. So letting yourself ease away into this twist on the other side. But again, just make sure you can breathe well, right? So if you need to back out a little bit when you inhale, do. And then maybe when you exhale, you can just let yourself twist a little bit deeper. That's really just let it be comfortable. Let it almost feel like you're just waking up your spine here with your twist. One more inhale. And as you exhale, when you come back to center, cross your left arm on top of your right. So you've kind of made an X here with your hands, so that with your arms, there's an X formed right there in the center. Take an inhale. And then when you exhale, draw your navel towards your spine, round into your back. You can even kind of reach for your knees if you want to, if you're sitting cross-legged here. And then as you inhale, come all the way on back up. Release your arms on out beside you, fingertips lightly touching if you're on the ground. And we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And let's unfold our arms. We are going to switch the cross of our legs if we're cross-legged on the floor. So you can stretch your legs out if you need to stretch them out a little bit before you bring the other leg in front. And then we'll come on into crossing again and let our hands come on out beside us. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. And now from here, clasp your hands together and really feel your fingers squeezing together and your palms. Feel engaged there into your arms, all the way up through your biceps, into your shoulders. And then easily turn your palms out away from your chest and press forward into the heels of your hands. So stretching out the hands a little bit and the wrists, letting yourself open up there. And then take your time to float your arms up higher. Now, how high you come up depends on your shoulders, right? The hands can be directly over your head, or you can have your hands a little bit forward. Don't push anything. Just feel really good. Engage your belly a little bit here. And then lean a little to your left so that you come a little deeper into side stretch for the right side of the body. Doesn't have to be far to really feel it as you press up into the heel of that right hand. And then we'll come back up to the top and we're going to go to the other side. So just a little bit of movement over there, and then if you can press into the heel of your hand, do. So you really feel that left side getting a nice stretch. We're going to come on back up to the top with our hands and our head, and we're going to release our arms on out beside us. And now let's make a big circle. Bring your arms forward and up overhead, and then let them reach as far back behind you as you can, lowering them on down beside you, and then we're going to reverse the circle. So we'll start to reach back first, and then up and over the top, all the way up and over, and all the way on down in front of you again. And then let your hands come out, shake them out a little bit, and wiggle around, like do some little movements with your fingers so that you play a little bit with your hands. And then open them back wide and let your thumbs and your pointer fingers just touch here. Make a little circle here with them. And then open your hands on back out. And now let's go to the middle fingers and the thumbs coming to touch here. And then open them back out. Let's go to the ring fingers and the thumbs, making that little circle. And then coming on back, and let's do the pinkies and the thumbs together there. Good. And then make your hands into a loose fist with your thumbs on top, and let your hands circle around a little bit so that you're in those loose fists and you're circling the hands. And then reverse and let them go the other way. And then let your arms come down. Shake out a little bit. You're probably feeling your arms a bit. Stretch your legs on out in front of you. Let your ankles get some movement here by circling your feet. Just nice and relaxed feeling. You can flip-flop your legs too. That feels good. We are going to make our way around towards our hands and knees. So you know, if you'd rather have your blanket under your knees, let yourself have a blanket if it doesn't feel good. Or be up on a seat of a chair with your hands if you'd rather. And you know, you can make fists with your hands if your wrists bother you. You can use blocks under your hands, or you know, you can have blocks under forearms and still work through your spine very easily without putting stress into your wrist, right? So you adjust, try, if your hands are bothering you or your wrists are bothering you and you want to come out of them, then you can try any one of those things. But just move through the spine here now with your own breath and take your time. So it is your time. You can decide if you need to go slower or faster. If you feel you want to stop in the cat or cow and just let the pose feel really opening for the spine here. Just enjoy that suppleness of your own spine. Good. And then we'll finish the one we're on or that we're heading towards. And now, bring your big toes together, knees apart, shift your hips back, and you can just come onto your forearms if that's better, towards child's pose there, or you can go ahead and shift back more with your hips, but that depends on how your knees feel, right? You can come fully into child's pose or you can stay a little forward, but just let yourself breathe there into the low back. Feel the low back expand and rise as you inhale. So it's almost like you're expanding the whole pelvis, really. One more breath. And then we're going to slowly make our way on back forward, and we'll step our left foot forward, our right foot back to find a lunge. Now, how high you want to be in your lunge, that's up to you. You can use your blocks any height. Of course, you can have a chair, and you can have the seat of the chair there for your hands if you want to be up higher, right? So you decide, does it feel better to have blocks right underneath your hands, so right under your shoulders on your mat there? Or your hands might be a little forward if you have them up on a chair. So just be mindful, really enjoy. And if your wrists bother you, remember you can go to fists with your hands. You can go to fingertips. Let yourself, don't find any stress happening there in the wrists. And we're going to switch legs. Now how you do that is up to you. You can step backwards, you can step forwards, you can switch however feels good, and just make sure you're not bending that front knee any farther forward than your ankle. Feel length through the back body here. Enjoy finding your whole body here in the pose. So even just picture the length of your spine here. And we are going to switch legs again. Again, press the feet this time away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet as you feel the whole body again in the pose. If you like to lift up your left hand or forearm up to your thigh, you can, or you can bring both hands up if you want, or keep both hands down. And we are going to switch legs again. So again, finding that alignment of that front knee. Making sure you're no farther forward bent with that front knee than your ankle. And as you press your feet away from each other and you feel that fullness of the length in the back body here, you're more than welcome to bring your right hand or forearm up, or both if you want. Good. From here, let's step forward and come into standing forward bend. So feet hips distance apart and parallel, and using whatever supports you need. So if your back needs to be long, you might be better off to bend your knees and keep yourself up high so that the length is still in your low back there. So you don't want to put any kind of pressure into the low back that feels uncomfortable. Take your time. If you can bend a knee at a time in your forward bend here, do, so that you just let one knee bend and then the other, and you kind of shift to the outside of that long leg hip, but be careful about it. Just let it be real easy feeling. And then finish off. Come on back into center. Of course, use the support you need. If you can, let your head hang, do. And let your jaw go, and just imagine all the muscles of the face are really letting go here, really releasing. So imagine your forehead is smoothing out and you're just relaxed all around your eyes and your mouth. One more breath. And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Go ahead and bring your chin down towards your chest. Look down towards your feet and adjust if you need. You can kind of walk in place if you need to. Get your feet just where you know you're the most comfortable to be there. And lift your toes all up for a second. See if you can make sure you're not rolling. You know, and sometimes it's just one foot that you want to either roll to the inside or the outside. Try to really focus on those four corners of the feet equal into the floor. And then softly bring the toes on back down. And press into your feet. Start to bring your gaze on forward and out, whether your eyes are open or closed. And start to feel those thighs lifting up gently towards your hips. Like you're creating space in your knees. And your pelvis aligns so that the tailbone reaches down towards between your heels. And your hips just naturally want to be over your ankles there, shoulders over your hips. And see if you can find that place where your head really feels pretty weightless up there, like it's just floating up there on top of your spine. And we'll release our arms now right on down beside us. And inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend the knees. Come on forward into that standing forward bend, keeping your back long. Now, once you come into your forward bend, if you need to stay with your back long, use support underneath. Your hands or elbows above your knees or hands on the blocks, right? And let your next inhale help you find that flat back, hands onto your blocks or your legs or your chair. And we'll step the right foot back and come into lunge here. And inhale, exhaling into your downward facing dog pose. Now your down dog is yours. So where your hands are, how high up, on the floor, on blocks, any height, on a chair. Feel your elbows hugging towards each other. It's almost like as you have that action of the elbows hugging in, you feel your armpits kind of hollow in a little bit. And then we'll come on out towards a plank. Now, you don't have to do a full plank. You can bring yourself to forearms and do a forearm plank. You can put your knees down and do a half plank that way. Let yourself really feel your sitting bones reaching for your heels. If you like to bend your elbows, you can do a little push-up if you want. And then we're going to make our way back into down dog. So again, just enjoy. Find the length through both sides of the body, like you're reaching back equally through your sitting bones. And we'll bring our right foot forward from here to come into lunge. Now you can put your left knee down to get there. Whatever feels good for you, let yourself take your time. And then we'll come back into standing forward bend. Feet, hips distance apart and parallel. Again, support if you need. And if you're able to let your head hang, it doesn't bother your back, let yourself feel the weight of your head. And then accept those full, deep, easy breaths now. So feel the ribs expanding. Let the breaths feel like you're not making a huge effort. You're receiving them, but they're nice and deep and long. You might even find those little pauses between the breaths, those little spaces. One more breath. And And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips. We're going to bend our knees and rise up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands up through the midline. Separate your hands into a wide V. So the arms are a wide V. Turn your pinkies in towards each other a little more so you feel that sense of even more space between your ears and your shoulders. Mountain with arms overhead. Feet in the floor to make sure you're not tucking your tailbone forward. Let your tailbone reach down towards between your heels. One more breath, and if you like to look up, you can. And on your exhale, bend your knees, come forward with that long, flat back, coming into your standing forward bend where you're able. Let your next inhale help you find that nice long back, and we'll step the left foot back and come into lunge. So press the feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet, and feel the belly engaging. Feel like you're zipping up your low belly. And we'll make our way into down dog from here. So again, it is up to you what height your hands are, but you do want to feel comfortable in your shoulders. If you can, walk your dog a little bit, do. Bending a knee at a time. And then once you come back to full dog, try bending both your knees a little bit. And press your feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat wider with your feet, but hug your elbows inward. So there you are, all engaged, and we're going to come on out towards a plank. Again, you do not have to do a full plank. You can come a little forward, you can come fully into a plank, or go to your forearms, and let yourself bend your elbows if you choose, and come into little push-ups. And then we'll make our way back again into down dog. From here, we are going to bring our left foot forward and come into lunge. So really find that lunge again. Draw yourself into feeling the feet pressing away from each other like you're trying to lengthen your mat. Feel how your belly engages, your hips, your low back. And we'll step forward from here and come on into standing forward bend again. Again, whatever works for your back, be really mindful. Nice full breaths. Good. One more breath here. And then we'll bend our knees and bring our hands to our hips. We're going to rise on up and inhale the arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands right back up through the midline. Once they get up there, bend your elbows and put your hands either kind of to the top of your head or maybe even back to the back of your head at the top a little bit. So you still have your hands in prayer hands, right? Elbows are just lifting up a little bit. If you want to look up, you can push your head gently into your hands. Let the hands go back a little bit, and maybe you can lift up here into a bit of a back bend with the elbows rising up a little bit. Don't force it, especially if it hurts your shoulders. Don't do it. One more inhale. And then on the exhale, release your arms right on down beside you here. Clasp your hands together and let your hands just come down to where the arms are not locked, but they're pretty straight. And inhaling here, and as we exhale, we're going to bend our knees and come on forward. Nice long flat back. Stop parallel to the floor. So bend your knees a little bit. See if you can look straight down, right underneath you there. And then hug your elbows a little towards each other. Feel how then your chest melts down. You come not just into the shoulders, but also into the spine there. And then we're going to release, if we can, farther forward. If not, don't do it. And if any of you want to release your arms away from your back, you can. That's up to you and your shoulders. And then we'll let our hands release right on down so that we can inhale into that long back again. And we're going to walk into down dog from here. So you put your hands to the surface you like to use. Come on back into your downward facing dog pose. Feel the elbows hugging in. Find the length through the sides of the body. And on your next inhale, come on out towards plank. Now you can add a back bend here or not. So you can come down if you're on the floor, do a sphinx or a cobra. You can let your pelvis come down just a little bit. There's a little back bend. Or you can come through with your chest into an up dog if you want. And then we'll make our way back into down dog. Remember, these back bends are optional. Take your time. Once you get in your dog, play a little bit, bend your knees, walk a little. You might even want to wag your tail a little side to side. And we're going to do that same thing. Next inhale will bring us out to that plank. It is optional to come into any kind of back bend here, totally up to you. You can stay in your plank, you can work in your core body there. We're going to come on back into down dog again. And let's bring our right foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll step all the way back into standing forward bend. And just release where you're comfortable to be, right? Support if you need, however you need it. And then just release into those nice, easy, full, deep breaths. Letting your inhales and exhales even out a little bit. So count when you inhale. Think of reaching at least that same count when you exhale. And if your exhales can get a little bit longer, then your inhales do that. But don't force it. Good. So one more full deep breath here. And then let's bend our knees, press equally into our feet. We're going to rise on up and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So coming into mountain pose, if you need to adjust a little bit, do. Just enjoy finding that sense of balance between your feet. And if you need to shift side to side or front to back, just get to where you feel like you're really equal between the balls of the feet and the heels, and between the right and the left, and also between those four corners of each foot. Good. One more breath here. And then we'll release our arms on down to shake out whatever you need to wiggle around, do it. Move around if you need to walk, do. And we're going to come into some warriors. So if you're using your chair, you might want to turn it around. Do have your blocks handy. And we're going to step our right foot back and come into warrior two. So we'll line our heels up and get that right foot about parallel to the back edge of the mat. If you like sending your heel back further, do. Just really be mindful of how your knee and ankle feel here in your foot, your hip, too. So. And then bend that left knee. Now look down at the left knee and just keep your arms down for a second. Focus on your legs. We're going to straighten the left knee out a little bit, and then we're going to bend it again. So watch as both you straighten the knee and you bend it, and kind of see what your knee does. Sometimes the knee wants to do kind of funky things, right? Sometimes when you straighten, it wants to come inward a little bit. See if you can just, watch and see what your knee naturally wants to do. And really try to imagine keeping it in this center groove, really. So that you bend it, it comes out over the center of the foot. And you straighten it, and it kind of stays that same. Now, if it doesn't, no big deal. Just kind of let yourself move a little bit one more time. And then bend that knee. Come on back into now keeping yourself into your legs here for warrior two. We'll bring our arms up and out, turn our palms up for a second, and let our elbows melt down. So it's like, imagine you're holding like two spinning balls in your hands that are equal in weight. You can just release the tops of the shoulders down, and then turn your palms to face the ground and reach out so that you're reaching away from the midline with the tips of the fingers. Feel the feet pressing gently away from each other as well. Good. One more breath. And now lean over that left leg. Now you can either put your left hand down on it above your knee on your thigh, or you can go to your forearm if you want. Look at the floor, and now let your right arm come like it's hanging towards the ground, and let it swing a little bit. So it comes forward and back. Really let the arm hang, right? It's really released. And now you're going to bring that right arm up by your right ear. Turn the pinky down and the thumb up. Now in order to turn into your side angle, you might need to press into that left hand or forearm and open into your side angle so you look towards the long edge of your mat now. You're looking that way instead of down, right? One more breath. And now let yourself come back to warrior two. Press those feet away from each other. Takes a lot of core strength to get right back into that warrior two pose. And now let your hands come down. And we're going to find lunge. Now where you want to put your hands for your lunge to release that right heel directly behind you and adjust your stance is up to you. Whatever height you want to be. And then we'll bring our left hand to our left hip and we're going to turn into a twist here. So your left hand can stay on your back. You can keep it on the low back, palm down. You can rise the arm up if you want to, straight up from your shoulder. That is up to you. Just let it feel really good. Finding that twist in the middle of your back. One more breath. And then go ahead and let yourself come back down into your lunge with your left hand down. And we'll step forward from here and get our feet right underneath it. Bend your knees a little bit. Let yourself release here. If you can, let your head hang, do. And then we're going to bring our hands up to our hips and press into our feet and rise on up to standing. Inhale your arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down to be in front of our chest. So coming into your mountain pose here, lengthening upward through the crown of your head. Nice. And then we'll release, arms on down, shake out a little bit, move around if you need to through your feet. And we're going to go the other side. So again, you can have your hand on the chair, make sure your blocks are handy. Line up those heels, however far apart your feet are, it doesn't matter, but think about your heels being in a line. And let your hands come down and go ahead, bend your right knee and look at it so you know it's not coming inward towards the big toe side of your foot, right? And then watch it as you come into straightening the leg a little bit and then bending it again. So again, it's almost like you want the knee to be in this groove. When you straighten it, you don't want it to shift inward. And you know, you might be surprised at what your knee looks like when you watch it like this. So take your time and try to make that effort to keep the knee as lined up as you can when you're straightening it as well as when you're bending it. And then let yourself finish to have the knee bent for warrior two. And we're going to start to rise the arms up, turn your palms up, let your elbows soften down. Look at the right palm there if you can. Let yourself feel that sense of releasing the tops of the shoulders down. And now we're going to come into warrior two arms, turning the palms down and reaching out equally through both sets of fingertips. Feel the feet pressing gently away from each other on the mat. Good. One more breath. And now let your hands come down. And again, you're going to lean into your side angle. So you may want to put your hand above your knee. You might want to come down to your forearm. That depends on you. Look at the floor and then let your left arm come down to swing. Let it swing. Let it feel heavy. You know, enjoy just releasing now up into your shoulder. And then we're going to rise the arm up to where it's right by our ear so that you got your thumb facing up and your pinky down. And now all you have to do is just push into that right hand or forearm and open into your side angle from there. So that you have now length through both sides of the body. You're letting yourself really extended side angle through that left side of the body. One more breath. And we're going to come on back into warrior two. Pressing the feet away from each other gets us right back into that pose. And then let our hands come down. We're going to find lunge. So again, you can use your chair. You can be up high in your lunge. You can come down lower to a seat of the chair or to your blocks. And then to add that twist, as you bring your right hand up and you roll that right shoulder up, if you're able to put your palm down on your low back, do. You know, so that you have that shoulder rolled up, that twist, without dropping into the left side. Or you can add the arm straight up if you like. That depends on your shoulder. Really just do what feels really good. Extend out through the crown of your head and imagine you're reaching back through that inner left heel. And then we'll bring our hand on back to lunge and we'll step forward and get our feet right underneath us again. Get yourself evened out. Bend your knees a little bit, coming into your forward bend, and again, support if you need. Elbows above your knees if you want. Hands on blocks or chair. Just enjoy feeling the weight of your head if possible. Feel the feet equal in the floor. One more full, nice breath into the rib cage. And then bring your hands onto your hips and bend the knees and rise on up. And we're going to inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let's lower our left arm down. And your right arm is still up there overhead. Bend your elbow. Now, you know, this is different for everybody. Your elbow might need to come out. You know, you might be able to put your hand back more to your upper back or not, right? But just feel, you're just really enjoy feeling here coming into your tricep, stretching a little. And then stretch that arm straight up again, and we're going to come over into side stretch, reaching over to the left side. And now bend both your knees a little bit. Try to feel equal between your feet. And then come into straighter legs if you can. Feel the knees coming into lifting. The muscles above around the knees here are working as you lift up through your thighs. And then we'll come on back up to the top. We're going to lower that arm on down. And we're going to inhale the left arm all the way out and up. Now again, this is all dependent on your shoulder. So once you bend that elbow, do what you have to do, right? Let yourself, again, just find what you can there. Feeling that stretch in your tricep. And then extend again into that long arm. And we're going to come over into the other side, stretch. So once you get there, bend both your knees again if you can. Try to feel really equal between your feet. And then see if you can come into straighter legs. So really feeling the feet still pressing into the floor. Thighs engaging upward. And then we'll rise back up to the top and lower our arms on down beside us. And bend our elbows and bring our hands to meet in front of our heart. Come into a mountain pose here. Feeling nice and centered. Good. And then we'll let our arms come on down beside us. Shake out a little bit. And we're going to come to Warrior One this time with our right foot back. So again, you might want your chair facing that way. You keep your blocks there so you have them if you need them. And we'll step our right foot back. So remember, to step into Warrior One, if you want to just come from standing and step your foot back to where you're really comfortable to stay square with your shoulders, you don't have to be any really great length apart with your feet to be in a Warrior One. You can have that sense of just a foot and a half or 2 feet between your feet, or you can have a really long stance and still keep your shoulders square, right? You have to adjust where you can be. Let your hands just come right together in front of your heart for a second. And then peek down at your left knee. Make sure it's bent, but it's not going out beyond your toes, you know. And kind of at least stacked over your ankle, no farther forward though. All right, and then bring your gaze on back forward. And let's inhale the hands up through the midline and open them into a nice open wide V. Turn your pinkies towards each other. Maybe even look up a little higher. And now feel energy all the way up through the fingertips here. See if you can feel your entire body here in your Warrior One. Just picture, right? Feel the feet in the floor. One more breath. And then we're going to lower our arms on down. And we're going to turn to face the long edge of our mat into a wide-legged forward bend here. So, you may want to grab your blocks and have them underneath your hands, or you may want to have your hands on the floor. So take your time, adjust your stance, bend a knee at a time if it feels good to you to do that. If it bothers your knees, don't do it. Just be mindful. Let it feel really good to find your inner thighs a little bit there. And then once you come back into center, really be careful to get comfortable so you can be with your breath without feeling like you're holding on to something in your upper body, right? So you don't want to tense into the pose. You really want to be able to release into the pose. So if it's better for you to stack your blocks up, you can come to forearms to get out of your hands. You can stay up on your hands if that's comfortable for you. And just let yourself feel your breath. So feeling the breath, expanding the rib cage in all directions when you inhale. Good. One more nice, full, deep breath. And now to come up, if you need to bring your feet closer together first before you bring your hands up to your thighs to rise your way up, then do it. And if you're dizzy, you might even want to stay a little bit longer with your feet apart. But take your time when you're ready. Move around, let yourself move through your feet and your ankles too if you need to. And we're going to come to the other side, stepping that left foot back. So coming into that warrior one. So if it feels better to widen your feet out a little bit, like you're on really narrow railroad tracks, do that, right? Some people like that line their heels up. That feels better in their hips. You just want to be able to very easily draw your shoulders around square. And this time, see if you can bring your arms forward with the palms facing forward. They're low. It's almost like you're just like handing somebody right there almost in front of you, handing something forward. Let it feel really good. Now see if you can rise the arms up a little bit higher and then open the arms out to the side like a T position, right out from your shoulders. And now from here, rise the arms up into that wide V. See if you can. Maybe bring your gaze up a little bit. Don't force it. Don't do something that makes your neck just immediately tighten, right? So keep the gaze forward if you need. If it feels really good to think about lifting up a little bit, feel a lift at the base of your shoulder blades. Your belly is engaged, and there is no sense of compression in your low back. One more breath here. And then we'll lower our arms back down. Again, we're going to turn to face the left side of our mat with our feet coming at least as wide as our shoulders. How much wider is up to you? And again, grab your blocks if you don't have them there and you need them as you come on forward. And then take your time again. This time, see if you can keep your hands centered, whatever they're on, whatever surface. And then just shift your torso a little bit one way and then the other so that you're not moving your hands, but you're just letting your torso just shift a little bit one side and then the other. And your legs are staying the same too. Good. And then come on back into center. Let yourself, again, if you need to walk around a little bit or bend and straighten a little bit, or remember in this pose, if you need to keep your knees bent, do. If you need to put your elbows above your knees to support yourself, if you like doing that support, do. But just make your way. I mean, sometimes you might even want to stack your blocks up and put your head on blocks, right? You can maybe do that with your elbows above your knees. Remember, these blocks can go a lot of different heights, right? They can stack up really high. They can be middle. They can be lower. Playing with the blocks is half the fun, so just be mindful. Let yourself enjoy. Imagine your inner thighs kind of melting their way behind you. those breaths again, if you can think about your inhales and exhales coming closer to the same length or your exhales being a little longer. And we are going to slowly from here start to think about making your way up. So take your time, easing your way on up to standing however you need, and bringing your feet on together and move through your feet and your ankles again. Move through a little bit. And we are going to bring our mats all the way into a wall here now. And you want to keep your blocks handy. So once you get your short edge of your mat into a wall, bring your blocks on with you. And we're going to practice a little half moon with our back foot into the wall if we can. So once we put our hands down to blocks and think about putting our right foot back here on the wall, now what you want to try to think of doing is getting that left supporting leg right under your hip. You don't want it too far back behind and you don't want it too forward. You want to feel like that supporting leg is right underneath your hip. And then you can look back at your right foot and think of turning your toes a little more up away from the floor. It doesn't have to be a lot to open your hip. So, you're not trying to make your foot parallel to the floor. That's too much. The toes are going to slightly face downward. And then you can decide if you want to stay right there. That might be enough you might go, okay, I don't even want to do that much. If you don't, turn your toes back down. If you want to shift your hand to that same leg you're standing on and bring your hand up to your hip of the foot that's on the wall, that's a half moon right there. You can do the half moon without lifting a hand up at all. So if you want to bring your right hand to your hip, if you've got your right foot in the wall, you can, or not. So don't overdo. Let yourself be where you can. If you kind of press into the wall a little bit with that foot, you might find a little more core strength, a little more going on in your hip. And then we're going to bring that hand back down if it was up and the foot down, but right away put the other foot on the wall before you even change your mind. And then once you're there, it's kind of a relief, right? Get your right leg right under you and then turn the toes. Again, you can look back at your left foot there. Instead of the toes facing down, see if you can turn them a little away from the floor. And, not everybody wants to do that in their hips, so don't do it if it hurts at all. You can stay with the toes down and practice a little bit of strengthening that way. And if you want to think about bringing your left hand up, if that left foot's on the wall, you can bring your left hand up. You can not do that if you don't want. You can let yourself just release, keeping your hand down, letting the hip open up just by having the foot back on the wall there. Good, and then we'll bring the hand down, bring the foot down, and step back to the wall enough to where you can sit back with your bottom on the wall, and then come on forward if you can bring your elbows above your knees. Let your feet be a little bit wider than in mountain pose, right? So you can release there. Let the hips release. Use the wall to support you. If anybody wants to squat lower, go for it, right? So, if you feel like, oh, I love to have the wall behind me, and I love to come way down and be supported, you can come down if that feels good and let the wall support you. And you can be parallel with your feet like I am, or you can have your legs turned out if that's better for you, right? So in a squat, I can't naturally keep my heels on the ground, right? So that's why I like the wall, because if I come back and put my heels down, then I don't fall backwards because I can just lean back into the wall. It feels really good. So don't overdo. Obviously, these are deep into the knees and the hips. Good. So from here, we're going to make our way down onto the floor to sit. So if you're already down squatting, it's pretty easy, but then you've got to get yourself around here to send your legs on out in front of you. And before you get situated too much, get your strap. But stretch your legs on out in front of you and kind of wiggle your legs around a little. Do those little wiper blades and circle your feet around. And actually, just give your foot a little love. Bring one foot up and see if you can just massage a little bit with your thumbs, just to kind of let your feet feel pretty good. Massage a little bit into the ball of the feet. I like to do each toe individually, like starting at the root of the toe and making up through the middle of the toe, squeezing all the way to the end of the toes, but that's up to you. Just at your foot. Do what feels good. And if, some people don't like to touch their feet. So if you don't like to touch your feet, no worries. Just do what you can. If you like to try to interlace your fingers too between your toes, that's a really good thing to do, to let yourself find, as we get older, really that gets harder to get those spaces between the toes for most of us, yeah. Another thing you can do at home is do those toe separators that they use for painting nails. And you can just sit in them, just let them be on your feet. You don't have to paint your toenails to do it. We're going to switch sides. But it's a good thing to, keep that bit of finding the spaces between the toes. Another way you can do it is you can come from the top and you can send your fingers between your toes from the top as well as from the bottom. So then that's a different feeling too, right? So again, massage, just wake up the foot. Now, doesn't the other one already feel better? Pretend it does, even if it doesn't.
Yes. Yes,
there you go. That's half the battle right there. Just pretend it does. So, all right. So, finish off the love for this foot. And it might be kind of interesting. You might realize just from doing this quick little massage how different your feet feel. And you'll kind of know the one that maybe needs the most love, right? So, taking time. All right, we're going to stretch the legs out. And we're going to get hold of that strap. And let's bring the strap. Let's all do the right ball of the foot into the strap. And now you can sit up on a blanket. You know that. As you bring your left foot in, you can decide whether you need support or not, or where you want to put this left foot. So you can put the foot down low by your calf. You can bring the foot to the inner thigh. You can put support underneath it. If it feels really iffy, especially when you start to come forward, then put support under it so you don't feel any stress in your knee at all. Because we're really focusing on the length of the back of this right leg, pressing into the strap with the ball of our foot. And as you inhale into the length of your spine, think about drawing that whole length of your spine forward. Your whole body comes forward. So there's not a bend in this, Forward bends are coming, really the back stays long, you come forward from your low back and everything's lined up. It doesn't matter if you come an inch or 2 inches, or maybe when you get forward you feel like, I can exhale my way a little more forward. But don't force it, just let it feel good. If you need to come back out of the forward bend when you inhale, do. And just feel the back of the leg getting a nice release. At the same time, as you keep the length of the spine, very strengthening here for the back. Good. One more breath here. Let yourself really stay with your breath all the way through. And now, as we slowly make our way on up, we're going to open that leg out to the side. Now, how far out to the side you go is up to you, right? And get comfortable with this left leg. So if you need to adjust how deeply it's bent or even stretch it out, by all means do, or put support under it again, because we're gonna do a little side stretch. We're gonna send our right hand down towards our right foot, holding on to both ends of the strap, and then let your left hand come up to your left hip and roll your left shoulder up. Now, you can bend your right elbow and go really pretty deeply into a side stretch here, adding the arm maybe just straight up, you know, like you do if you're in triangle, straight up from your shoulder. Or maybe you want to lower the arm down and come deeper into a side stretch. That is totally up to you. So take your time. If you need to let yourself keep the hand down, if that bothers your shoulder to put it up, keep it down. One more breath here. And then we'll rise on back up. Now, let go of the strap, take an inhale, and when you exhale, twist to your left. So you're bringing yourself around towards that bent leg. Doesn't matter where you put your hands. You can have your right hand kind of at the midline, or it can reach over and rest on your thigh if you want. Just let yourself enjoy coming into releasing now that left side you were stretching, coming into that twist. Lengthen up through the top of your head. Feel your chin parallel to the floor. So one more inhale. And as you exhale, ease your way back into the center. And we're going to switch legs. So take that strap on now to put on your left foot. And again, as you bring your right foot in, you decide, do you need some support? So at first, the foot's directly in front of your hip. It's a strict forward bend, right? And if you're iffy, put something under that knee, remember. Especially sometimes it doesn't happen, though, till you come forward. So just be mindful. Press into the strap of the ball of the foot. Feel your left heel on the ground. And then as you exhale, you can come forward maybe an inch, right? And you may want to stay in that little tiny forward bend for a few breaths and kind of see if you want to attempt to go any further or not. Inhale into the length of the spine and imagine coming farther forward, even if, again, it's only in your imagination, right? So keeping the length of the spine. Imagining coming forward as that big, just long, flat back, right? So there's no curve involved. You're going to feel the back of that left leg. Again, if you pull the heel to the ground and draw it back towards you and press into your strap, there's a little more engagement going on there. Will protect you from overstretching your hamstring there. Good. So following your breaths all the way in and all the way out. Now we're going to slowly come up, so take your time as you rise on back up all the way. And then again, just let the leg come over to the side, adjusting this bent leg, right? The right leg, if your knee's an issue, remember, you can put the foot farther out and support it. Just let it be all about the side stretch here as you slide your left hand down towards your foot. Now you can bring your right hand up to your hip, roll that right shoulder up. That might be enough right there. Or you can add your arm. You know, you can add it up. You can add it coming closer towards your head and bringing yourself a little deeper into that side stretch. And a lot of that has to do with your shoulder, your arms, but also just be mindful. Don't feel any discomfort in that right knee. And breathe into the right side you're stretching there. One more breath. And now we're going to slowly come on back up. And you can let go of your strap. Inhaling here. And on the exhale, twist to your right. So you're twisting towards that bent leg. Again, it doesn't matter where your hands go. Just let that twist come in the middle of the back there, and it's like a total release for that right side that you were just stretching. So just enjoy. Good. One more breath. And now use your belly to bring you on back around into center. And let's stretch our legs on out in front of us. Go ahead and put your strap off to the side and stretch your legs out in front of you. Circle through your feet a little bit. And then bend your knees and put your feet on the floor. Now you can stay with your bottom on the floor. You don't have to lift up into a 4-footed table. You can turn your hands either way. So fingertips facing back, maybe turned out like 45 degrees, and let your chest come forward here. You can turn your hands, fingertips facing towards your feet, and let your chest open, or you can decide if you want to lift up into a 4-footed table, to where you kind of try to get yourself as much like a table as you can, right? And if that bothers you, don't do it. And your shoulders will feel really different depending on how your hands are turned. So some people, turning the hands backward just makes a huge difference. It feels a whole lot better. And some it feels worse, right? So just be where you can. Don't stay up too long. You can just see what it feels like. And if you need to come down, let yourself come on down. Good. And when you're finished, stretch your legs out. Turn your hands so that the backs of the hands are resting downward towards the ground. And you might just want to bow your head and stay right there. Or if you feel like you want to come a little forward, that puts a little more pressure into releasing the wrist, but you know, that's not necessary. You can stay with your hands turned that way and just breathe a couple of breaths. And then take your time, take your hands off the floor and move around a little bit through your fingers, circle if you need to. And we're going to lie down on our backs on the floor from here. So come on down and let your knees come in towards your chest. Let your feet come up in the air. And then slide the thighs towards the outside of the ribs, a little happy baby. Now you can have your hands just wrapped right around the back of your thighs if you want. And just kind of press your thighs down towards the ground. Pull them down kind of, right? And you can roll side to side. You can reach up for your feet if you want. That is totally up to you. You know that. Just let the hips release, the low back release. Let it feel really good in your hips and in your low back. And then bring yourself on back down to the ground with your feet. And let's bring our right knee into our chest. You can hold behind your thigh or on your shin and extend your left leg down long on the floor. Press that right leg just really gently into your hands and flex your feet. And then let your left hand come to the top of your left hip. Draw your right knee to the right and kind of imagine you're drawing it up towards your shoulder. And then bring it back to center and take your left hand to the right knee and just draw it over to the left. Now how far you want to go is up to you. Maybe just an inch or two. Maybe you want to release your right hip off the floor and go farther over. You know, you go where you can. Let it feel really good. Good. And then come on back into center with that knee. And we're going to switch to bring the left knee in towards the chest. Extend the right leg down long. You can hold behind your thigh. You can hold on your shin there. Just be mindful. Let it feel really easy as you feel the leg gently pressing into your hands. That low back curve comes into its normal, natural curve. And then we're going to bring our left hand to the left knee and let your right hand come down onto your top of your right hip and open the knee to the left. Again, just enjoy that. Let it feel good. Just feel like you're just gently drawing the knee upward. And then come on back into center and switch to bring your right hand across to that left knee. And again, you know, how far you want to go across the midline. You don't even have to let the left hip come off the floor at all. You can come farther over or be really just barely across the midline. It comes more into the buttocks instead of coming into your back. And then we're going to slowly come on back up to center. Bring both knees on in and do what your body immediately wants to do right now. So if you need to let yourself come into another little happy baby, or maybe you feel like you want to open your hips a little more, you can do a little Baddha Konasana there, or a little wide angle on your back there. Take your time, so that when you do get ready to come into Shavasana, it's very easy. It feels natural to be able to stretch out on the ground. But we'll start to walk around. Don't rush. If the idea of a bolster sounds good, when you start to be ready, you can kind of wave your hand at me and I'll bring one for you here at the studio. At home, if you feel uncomfortable, when you lie on your back, you don't want to be in Shavasana and be uncomfortable at all. So you can add support. If still you have some glitches that are happening, that staying on your back doesn't work for you, then really don't do it. You can turn to your side. You can support yourself with things around you so that you feel really good and you're not feeling like you're holding tension in your body. You can use blankets, pillows, whatever you got at home. There's the sign. So I'm going to walk around a little bit longer and look for hands. If you don't feel comfortable, let me know. If you need anything at all, bolster, blanket, anything at all. You just take your time. Feel the ground underneath you. Enjoy being with your own breath. Just accept the breaths as they come in and go out. Remember, there's nothing you need to do in order to breathe. And we all know our minds are going to wander off and go into thinking, but just see if you can softly keep returning to your breath, that easy wave of your breath in and out. And give yourself the gift of these few minutes, allowing yourself to completely and fully relax. let those deeper breaths start to bring you back into feeling energy come back into the body. Fingers and toes, hands and feet starting to move how you need. You might want to circle your hands and feet around a little bit, coming into your wrists, your ankles. And do what you need to do for your arms and legs. Bend or stretch. Bring your knees in if you need. Take your time. You know you're welcome to roll onto either your right or your left side if you're comfortable to do that. You can come into a soft position on your side and allow the ground to support you a little bit longer, just giving yourself time to adjust. Feel like you'd be okay to rise up to sitting. Float your way on up there to sit however is comfortable and keep as light feeling as you can as you kind of ground through your sitting bones, but you let your spine lengthen upward and you let the head just be right up there on top again above your heart. Letting your shoulders soften down, feeling a real ease of sitting up and being able to breathe a little more deeply again. And let your next exhale bring your hands to meet there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.